I want to also include those images. And that is where uh, if I were to ask you how I might do that, um, hopefully you would tell me a custom attribute, because then you would be right. So again, since we're dealing with the page object here, and here, and we want to link to a page, and when we're actually looping through this here, we are actually dealing with the page object. That's what we're dealing with here. Um, we want to create a custom attribute that can also be attached to each of these pages and then used in stuff like this. So I'm going to call this, I'm going to add another custom attribute. This time it's called image. It's one of image or file. And I'm going to call this thumbnail. And then when I come back to my sitemap, I am actually able to add the thumbnail down here, and it's just a file picker. And I can choose different thumbnails for my pages. And now anytime I interact with this page object, whether it's on the page itself or it's in a page list or wherever, I am actually able to grab and display this thumbnail. So it's quite powerful. You can even extend the page search to show you the thumbnail when you're in the page search. Although I have no idea how that's going to look. Oh, it shows it in AO. It does not show it as an image. It shows it as a file name. But you can actually do that too. So now I have attached a thumbnail to each one of these pages, but I have to modify the template to use it. And there are some really handy instructions here that we will follow. Uncomment the image helper line up here. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take his code. And remember, this is the code that actually retrieves the custom attribute that we created. And remember, I called it thumbnail, so that I give it the handle of thumbnail. So that's what I need to do. And then my max width for this thumbnail is 300 by 150, I believe. I will double check that. Yep. I do want the thumbnail cropped. And then finally, I output the thumbnail like so in my image holder. And this thumb object that we're working with here is a result of this of the get thumbnail function, which takes a file object, which is the image here, and crops it if necessary. And all this stuff is documented on concrete5.org. We'll refresh this, and now we have something that is very sustainable and very easy to modify, and does not require any does not require nearly as much maintenance. You know, you can just change the page in one spot and it changes it on the home page. And moreover, if I add a new one, it's super easy. Let's add a new page underneath the About section. Whoops. Add subpage. New page. Now I can set the properties. I have to make it a featured page or it won't show up in that list. And I can give it a thumbnail. Let's choose a file. let's just upload the this one, which is just a comp image, kind of. We can choose it. New story. And I save that. And I come back to the home page. Oops. Refresh that. And you can see right here, my story 1 has fallen off the front page, even though it's completely still in the system. That's because it's the oldest one chronologically. Story 2 takes the right spot, and all of its content moves over. Story 3, and then the new story, completely linked to. Very, very, very sustainable layout. No new version of the page is created because the block hasn't changed. It's just pulling new data based on the way your site is. And the page list honors permissions. You can, if I went to story 3 and I said, you know what, I still want story 1 on the home page, but story 3 isn't that important. If I go to here and remove the featured flag and then refresh this page, new page is still at the top. Story 1 takes the second spot, or story 2 takes the second spot. Story 1 comes back, and all of the fields, all of the data about the stuff stays as well. So for something like this, this would be preferable to the designer content block if you had content like this that was changing frequently. And I've covered a fair amount, so I'm going to take some questions. I see that there are a number of different questions in the chat, so I will start answering them. Faust asks, I know you can limit the number of blocks to an area to 1, but can you limit the types of blocks that can be added to an area? You can. What you're going to want to do is enable something called advanced permissions. What this lets you do is go into an area and actually set permissions at the area level. If you look up advanced permissions on our site, this is actually code that you add to a config file. The next version of concrete5 actually makes these much, much more powerful and nicer, actually. And in addition, also lets you enable them through the dashboard. But I can enable them by hand for this. If you came into here and you clicked on this, now you'd see set permissions is actually something you can do at the area level. And you could come down here and say administrators can add everything, but in the home featured story area, I don't want anyone to be adding anything except the page list. So that is definitely how I would handle that, is with advanced permissions. And in the next version of concrete5, you can also control what groups can add what blocks at a global level. So you could create an editors group that really only ever had the ability to add, 4 or 5 different blocks that you thought that they had the ability to add. And it looks like Matt has answered that question completely. While powerful, is it confusing to users to put so much information in page attributes? For example, users get used to simply clicking on the page they wish to edit and being able to see what they need to edit in a block. With so much hidden away in page attributes, do they get confused as to where the image for the home page is specified? They could. I mean, it's one of the trade-offs. Like, if you're really working on a simple site, the block-based, a really custom block-based approach is nicer, no question about it. But there are times when the page-based approach just really scales much more nicely, I think, especially if you're doing something like what we were doing in this last demo. Now that said, there's no reason why you can't have blocks and attributes actually interact. So for example, this is a little off the subject, but if you take a look at, I think it's the tags block. The required page attribute, but the handle of tags doesn't exist. Okay, I will create the required page attribute tags. This is a select style attribute. If we add tags to the story 2 page here, actually I'll add it to story 3 because story 3 has a right sidebar, so it'll look nicer. Or the new one, I believe, does. If we add tags to this page, I believe, tags. If I actually set tags here, I'm pretty certain that it will add them to the current page. So editing the tags here does make it change in the view. So you come to the view to change the tags, and that saves them here. But if you look at the page attributes here, it's actually adding the tags at the attribute level or at the page level as well. So on the home page, for example, you could set up a search block that pulled in pages with the tags that we've specified. You could let it, regular users would just be able to go to the page in question and change the tags from the block where they're being shown, but it's actually impacting both that block. That block, updating it, actually saves the tags against the page. So there are ways to both sort of have your cake and eat it too in terms of using attributes and still making things sort of WYSIWYG. Oscar asks, can I set a default template to a specific block area? I don't recall, actually. There was at one time a way to do this, but I would be lying if I said I was positive that it was working going forward. This is something to look at in the area class. There is a function called, where is it? Set custom template, which takes a block type and the template name. So you could, for example, you could pass in set custom template, put image in there, and then custom image template, and that would work. We need to make sure that it actually does, in fact, always work, but I believe that it does. We actually checked this in the block view class as well. Faust asks, is there a way to store the image for the home page in the block and grab it via something like the page list? Yes, there is actually. You can definitely do that. What you might want to take a look at is, in addition to what I showed you with the tags block, you might want to take a look at the other page list custom template that's in the core. This is the blog index thumbnail. What this does is we actually, for the blog that's built into the concrete5 core, we actually do what you're describing. We have a hidden area on the blog entry page type that displays that lets you add an image to it and then hides when you're not in edit mode. And then this custom template uses that instead of a page attribute. And the reason we did that is because those blocks work better with blocks work more flexibly with Composer. But if you look into the blog index thumbnail custom template, you can see that we actually grab a block from that page's area. The area is named thumbnail image, and then we use that block data to output a thumbnail. So exactly what you're describing is definitely possible, and we do that in the core. So I would encourage you to take a look at that template. Okay, moving right along, I want to show you some other ways that you might use custom attributes in a creative way. I'm wondering why. Oh, there's two navs because I was actually poking around on this website the other day trying to figure out why something wasn't working. So let's think about what other things we might use custom attributes for. What if I, for example, wanted this to change occasionally? What if I wanted this yellow box to be something different occasionally? Well, there is in the core a custom attribute. Actually, no, there isn't in the core. There is no custom attribute for color, but you can actually download one. Well, I could have sworn there was. Oh, well. Well, that doesn't mean we can't do it ourselves. Let's say I wanted to change this from yellow to you know, something else based on what I was doing with the home page. The first thing that I would want to do is create a custom attribute named color. And there is an attribute type, I'm positive of it, in the marketplace that will handle this, but I can't seem to find it, so I'm going to just handle this as basic text. I'm going to add this to the home page, color. I'm going to call it white right now. That is, in fact, a HTML, a color that HTML knows how to interpret. And then I'm going to come in to my theme in the home page, and I'm going to find this home featured content right here. Make sure that this is in fact a correct place, and I'm going to open up my style sheet and find where this is determined. So currently you can see this is the default background color. I'm going to actually remove this from here. Refresh. That makes that go away, which is nice. Then I'm going to, if color, style, background color. Actually, no, I'm going to just do it this way. then I'm going to add in a little PHP up here. Again, C stands for our current page. We can get attribute this way. So what this code is doing is it's retrieving the current page's custom attribute with the handle of color, and if it's not set to anything, we default it back to the yellow that was used before. And again, now you can see that with just that little amount of code, we've made this color here totally changeable. And moreover, if we don't like this anymore, we could remove this attribute, save it, and it will revert back to the yellow. But it gives us yet more, another bit of customization that we could do here. I don't know if this is valid color. It is. So this is very, very bright light blue up there. Of course, since it's HTML colors, you could add in any color as well. There is a custom color picker add-on. I'm positive of it. Color custom attribute. I'm going to try this one. So what I'm downloading is just a file from the regular concrete5 forums. This might be a little bit outside your typical expertise level, but it's very, very some handy stuff in there. Again, it looks like this is just a package, and it installs a new attribute type. And so all you have to do is take this thing and drop it in the packages directory, install it. Color picker attribute adds the color picker attribute type. Very simple there. Then what we can do is we can come into the attributes. We'll take my color attribute and we'll delete it. Then notice the color picker custom attribute has added a new type of attribute at the bottom called color. And I'll remake my attribute so that I don't have to change any of my code. And when I come to the home page now, if I come to properties, notice color has a special little icon there, and it's got a completely new way of selecting color. This is working really nice. We'll see if this actually works. I did no testing on this whatsoever. And you can see right there that the concrete5 community comes through in a big way. So this is, if you find yourself changing your content a lot, you definitely might want to check into this. And of course, you know, now that we've got that, we could even add in a custom attribute that changes the text color as well. You know, so you're getting pretty it's getting pretty fancy there.